Alex mentioned fat bodies. So these fat bodies are, what would you say is their function?
Store fat for
Just-
your body.
Yeah, and fat is mainly a storage area for energy. Extra energy that's consumed in the spring and summer and fall gets stored in the frog as these fat bodies, and then it gets used during hibernation. So that's what fat bodies are. They're an area to store energy. They're very obvious in the frog. When you do your dissection, you open up the frog, they're bright orange. Okay, here you see a frog with quite a few fat bodies.
Looks like orange pepper.
Yeah, it depends on your frog and sort of what it ate will determine how many fat bodies it has. The tympanum, anyone in band? So does this sound familiar? What is the timpani? It's a drum. You know what the tympanum would be?
Oh.
Yeah, it's an eardrum basically. Sometimes called the tympanic membrane. The tympanum is basically the frog's eardrum, but it's an external eardrum. It's basically just behind the eye, this sort of circular patch that you might not see unless you look closely, but that's their eardrum. They don't have ears, external ears made of cartilage like we do. Their eardrum, their tympanic membrane, is right on the surface of their skin.
Do humans have these?
No, we have an eardrum, which is basically the same thing, but ours is sort of inside of our skull a little bit, inside of our ear. So it's a little hard to see because this frog's super shiny for some reason, but this is the eye, obviously. Right behind it, the circular patch on the skin, that's the tympanum. And then we have this membrane called the nictitating membrane. It's actually like a third eyelid. And this is found in most amphibians and reptiles. We sort of have the remains of this evolutionarily in our eye. You know, in like the corner of your eye, you have like a little bit of a membrane there, like right in the corner. That's sort of what's left from that after evolution. It doesn't cover our whole eye, but in amphibians and reptiles it does. And it's a membrane that protects the eye, keeps it moist, lubricates the eye. It also kind of works as goggles to allow the amphibian to see better when it's underwater. So here you could see it in the frog. See their eye, and it's clear, it's transparent. And when it closes, it just sort of covers the eye completely. The frog can still see through it, but again, it allows it to see well underwater, helps protect the eye. That's the nictitating membrane. All right, so just to finish up here, this is not a frog. This is a human. And so the anatomy, as I've said yesterday, is very similar. This is why we do a dissection, because frog anatomy, human anatomy are pretty close. If we look at the digestive system, we have a mouth, then the esophagus, then the stomach. Next, food moves into the small intestine, and then the large intestine. Same exact thing is present in a frog. We have a mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. A difference is probably the length of their small intestine compared to their body is smaller, and their large intestine is definitely smaller. That's one major difference. Another difference is we have an anus where solid waste comes out of our body. It's undigested. Frogs just have that cloaca, which everything comes out of. Liver, we have a liver, fulfills the same function as it does in the frog. Same thing for the gallbladder, pancreas. They do the same exact things in the frog as they do in the human. this is where the appendix is, if in case since we're not going to cover the digestive system. Appendix is a little extension from the large intestine, sort of little thing hanging off the end. And every once in a while it can become infected, and that's what appendicitis is. Like when I was 12, I had my appendix taken out because it got infected. It's just something that happens once in a while with people.
What does your appendix do?
Well, it used to be that scientists thought it didn't do anything. I think more recently research has shown that it serves as sort of a storehouse for beneficial gut bacteria. So we have bacteria that live in our digestive tract that are helpful to us. They help us in digesting food and extracting certain nutrients. And so scientists think that if the bacteria in our digestive tract gets wiped out, it can be repopulated from bacteria kind of hiding here in the appendix. Like if you ever had to take an antibiotic for a long period of time, a very strong antibiotic, sometimes like you start to get a stomach ache towards the end of it, because the antibiotic kills not only the bacteria causing your ear infection or whatever, but also the beneficial bacteria in your digestive system. And so it's harder to digest foods, causes cramping and stomach pain. That's the rectum, the end of the large intestine. Now these organs are in what we call our abdominal cavity. So your abdominal cavity is basically everything below your rib cage is where those organs are. The rib cage encloses another cavity called the thoracic cavity. And what organs are in the thoracic cavity? Two main ones. Bella?
The heart and the lungs.
Yeah, heart and lungs are up higher above that abdominal cavity, and the heart and lungs are there. Okay, and this just basically shows that. The same is true in the frog. Like when you first dissect it, lots of times you'll expose the abdominal cavity and see all those digestive organs and so forth, and then you're going to have to cut up higher to expose the thoracic cavity for the heart and lungs. All right, any questions about any of the frog organs? Okay, you can put that sheet away. We're done with that.